Akash Inti is the real reflection of you. Today I was thinking about this concept of trust. It's come up to me very recently. And not only what does it mean, but more importantly, why do we trust people, or why don't we trust people? And what came to me as I was thinking about it was, how trust is, it's a funny thing in the sense of, when you have it, when you have someone's trust, and when you don't have someone's trust, but it's not something that's really easily measured. And there isn't a specific point in time where you can be like, right now I've got someone's trust. It's easy to tell when it's broken, but it's not really easy to tell when it's completely gained or built. It's something that takes a long time to build and just a moment to break. And so I was thinking about trust and this concept of it, and what does it mean? And we obviously know that trust is it's a feeling, right? It's a feeling of seeing someone else and believing someone else and their story that they tell you. And there's something about trust where I found that it's almost a reflection of our own sense of trust. In other words, and I've talked about this in past videos before, I've talked about this and I say this quite often, but you are a reflection of me and I am a reflection of you. In other words, the way that I treat you reflects how I treat myself, and the way that you treat me reflects how you treat yourself. I think I said that right. The point being that if I trust you, that's a reflection that I trust myself. And if you trust me, it's a reflection that you trust yourself. And what do I mean by that? Well, you trust yourself, A, to put yourself in a position where you would only be surrounding yourself with trustworthy people. Or I, surrounding myself with trustworthy people. The second part to that is that in order to trust someone else, we need to know that we ourselves can be trusted. So, in order for me to trust you, I need to know that I can trust myself. In order for you to know that you can trust me, you need to know that you can trust yourself. And so trust is this funny thing where it comes down to us. But what if we're dealing with someone who is not trustworthy, but they show signs of being trustworthy? In other words, they're really good liars. Well, it comes down to a couple things, right? What are we entrusting with them? What are we entrusting them with? Trust, like we talked about, it's not something that you give someone full, entire trust right off the bat, right? Like if I'm meeting a stranger for the first time, I'm not necessarily going to go, here's all of my financial assets and everything that I own, right? That would be foolish, or maybe not, it depends on who the stranger is. It depends on your level of trust. Some people are like, yeah, it's no big deal because I know whatever they take, I'll just make back, or I'll find some way to make it happen anyways. Others are like, I wouldn't trust this person with even my, I don't know, washing my glass of water, or maybe that's not a good example, but I wouldn't even trust this person with a fly, for example, a pet fly. So it depends. Depends on each individual and their level of trust. But going back to the question, what do you do if you're with someone who's untrustworthy? Well, at that point, it's like, and I'm realizing this right now as I'm speaking, why are you in front of someone who's untrustworthy? In other words, I've always found that we can speak into people. We can speak into other people ideas and ways of being, right? Two different people could approach the same man on the street and have two vastly different experiences with that man. The man could still be very flagrant or very just rough, not easy to deal with. But one person could be very kind and loving towards him, and while he's rough in the beginning, over time, over the conversation or over the period of time that they engage, he might be very different. He may be very loving, he may be very kind, he may be very sharing. Another individual could come up and be very rough with him and just dish back to him what he's given to them. And those two individuals are going to have very different experiences with that same man on the street. And so it's funny to me because, yes, one can be taken advantage of by people, for sure. But on the same token, we have to ask, why did we put ourselves in a situation to be taken advantage of? Why did we trust an individual who's untrustworthy? And that individual is really ourselves. Or is it? Or is everything I'm saying complete BS? Because there's a glimmer of truth to it, but at the same time, is there? Or isn't there? And now that you've thought that you know that you don't know, why don't you let go and simply trust your journey? I'll leave you on this, and it's something I've been thinking about quite a bit myself. The universe has a really funny way of giving us exactly what we want. How much do we trust ourselves and the universe to give us exactly what we want? And why must it happen the way that we want to versus the way that the universe knows best for us? Keep up, thrive, and stay sexy.